Am I the a-hole for feeling no guilt or regret for legally emancipating myself from my dad when I was 16 to stop him providing for his family with my inheritance? Let me start with the background because that's relevant here. My parents divorced when I was 4. My dad cheated on my mom with multiple women and got more than one other woman pregnant. I lived primarily with my mom and saw my dad every other weekend. When I was 7, my dad got remarried. He later adopted his wife's daughter and then had more children with her. He didn't have anything to do with the kids he conceived through his affairs, but he still had more kids than he could afford with his wife. When I was 14, my mom was diagnosed with cervical cancer. It ended up being terminal, and we moved in with my maternal grandparents. We were all worried about my dad stealing from me once I ended up in his custody when my mom died. That was exactly the kind of thing he would do, because he regularly asked me for money when I went to his house, not that any judge cared in court. So we looked into emancipation and made sure I could fit the criteria as best as possible. After my mom died and I went to live with my dad, he tried to steal from me by accessing my bank account to withdraw money he knew I'd have from my mom to pay for stuff for his family. He said it was for essentials, but it didn't matter. He did this without my permission. Once he did that, I went to the cops to file a police report and went to court to file for emancipation. I was already working part-time, and the actual money from my mom was secure in another account. It took several months. I was almost 17 before the emancipation was granted, but I met the criteria well enough to be approved. I rented a place from a friend's family and worked and went to school until graduation. My grandparents legally weren't allowed to help me. I had to do it all on my own, but I did it, and it kept the money safe from my dad. He was so pissed at the time, not just at me, but at my grandparents too, because he knew they helped me plan for that. I was no contact with my dad for a few years, and then he contacted me recently and asked if I was ready to apologize to him and his family yet. I told him I had nothing to apologize for and not to contact me again. I had already blocked him on his own accounts, so I blocked the new ones he used to message me. When he contacted me again, I did the same thing. Then his wife used an alt/second/fake account to tell me I was an awful person for going so far as to see their kids struggle and suffer without enough of what they needed. I blocked her account without a response. I went as far as reporting it to the police when they both tried a few more times. They really expected me to feel regret or guilt for it. I don't feel that way though. Their kids are not mine to support, and they weren't my mom's kids either, for her to do it via me. She's the reason I have the money I do. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad was a major league a-hole. Definitely keep him and his wife on permanent no contact. Put bluntly, he took ruthless advantage of you for his benefit. If he chose to have a ton of kids with his new wife, guess who is responsible for paying for them? He is. And his wife, not you. He could always choose to use condoms or get a vasectomy if he can't afford the kids he has now. She could do something too. My mother and I both had full tubal ligations. 99.9% success rate in preventing pregnancy when done properly. Particularly important for my mother. I didn't want more kids. Another pregnancy could have killed her. But it worked, and me and my sister are the only kids. Not the a-hole. No, not the a-hole at all. The guy was stealing from you, and you had every single right to defend yourself. Your father's wife sure has some nerve telling you you're an awful person for going so far to see their kids struggle and suffer and not have enough of anything they needed. Their kids, their responsibility to provide. You apologizing because you didn't let him steal from you? Pretty much. I was told I was part of the family and should have looked out for the best interest of my family. A minor is not generally given unfettered access to inheritance money. Also, there were options other than emancipation. My grandparents were helping to safeguard the money before then, so my dad couldn't access it. Emancipated minors are given full access to their money, etc. Reason being is that we're no longer dependent on our parents. Next story. Am I the a-hole for expecting my parents to find alternative care for my brother instead of expecting me to become his full-time caregiver eventually? My parents give my younger brother 14 full-time care. He was born with a muscular problem as well as extreme developmental issues. He can't do anything for himself, and needs to be watched pretty much every second he's awake and out of his specialized bed. I, 17, always knew my parents expected me to step up and care for him when they get older, but they finally mentioned it to me a few weeks ago because my guidance counselor wanted us to have some serious talks about college. The summary of that is my parents don't want me to go, have no money for me to go, and won't provide their details for me to get financial aid. My guidance counselor is looking for ways around that, so for now, it's a wait and see what she can find kind of deal. Coming back to my reason for posting, my parents used the request for a meeting with the guidance counselor to tell me that they want/need/expect me to become my brother's full-time caregiver when I'm older, and when they're older and can't meet his needs anymore. They said they won't see him be neglected, abused, or worse in a care facility, and that there's a lot of SA going around these homes, so I should protect my brother from that. They asked me what would happen if some awful nurse used him to get pregnant or something, and then a baby was brought into it because my brother can't stop her or tell anyone. They said I need to focus on learning all I can to take care of him, because maybe I can't find a partner who wants to take on my brother, and I need to be able to leave anyone I'm dating to take over the role of caring for him when that time comes. They said I can't trust someone else to be willing to do it, because it's going to mean lots of sacrifices, and people are selfish. I told my parents I want my own kids, I want my own family, and being the caregiver for my brother would stop me from doing that. I said it already stopped them from being involved with me, and I don't want that for my future kids. My parents accused me of not loving my brother and of being just as selfish as the majority of humans, who'd rather see a person who already exists suffer and be treated like crap than take care of the family they already have. They said a good brother would be up for the challenge and would give him the best care until he passes. I asked if they were leaving me a lot of money to do that, and they said they hardly have any money. So I told them they want to leave me struggling to feed myself, just to care for him too, and it ticked them off even more because they said I was making it all about me, and being self-centered. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your parents are absolute a-holes though. Ask them how they expect you to take care of your brother if they won't let you get an education that will lead to a well-paying career. If that snaps them to attention, let them help you with school, and then just buzz off and live your own life. They expect me to sacrifice my needs for his and avail of all resources to do it. That way I can be home with him and not out working. There's nothing that'll snap them to attention or make them reconsider helping with school. They have their minds made up on that already. Run. I can't run yet. I'm not 18 yet, but when I turn 18, I'll go as soon as I can. Legal emancipation is a thing. It's not an option for me. I don't have the money needed to get emancipation, because part of the requirements for my state is having enough savings to support myself with while having income coming in. Your guidance counselor can help you. If you start the legal proceedings, apply for college, and get loans and job, you're supporting yourself the same as most students. Study part and work. Step by step, you can make it happen. There's resources out there to help you. She can maybe help me get into college, but not get emancipated. There are pretty strict guidelines for who's eligible for it, and I don't meet those requirements. I don't have the money that they require you to have. And if I'm already 18, it won't work anyway. We talked about that being an option, but it was very clearly unrealistic for me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for pushing my dad away since my wife died because I have less understanding for how he handled being a young widowed father than I used to? I, 30 male, lost my wife 8 months ago. We have 3 kids, 7 and under, together. The last several months have been incredibly rough for us all, and there has been so much therapy to help us through this. My wife's death was unexpected and sudden. I loved her so much, I would 100% say she was the love of my life, and someone I wanted to make it to 50, 60 plus years with. We made it to 11 total years together. The loss of my wife has caused me to reflect a lot on the loss of my mom, who died when I was 5 years old. It made my dad come to me for reassurances too. The two of us have never had the strongest or healthiest relationship, and it was only when my wife died that I put more distance between us than ever. My mom's death was just as unexpected and sudden as my wife's. She was hit by a car in the parking lot of her work and died hours later. My dad didn't keep it together for me. 3 months later, he was bringing home women and having sex with them. 14 months later, he was engaged and bringing someone else to live with us, expecting me to call her Mom. That marriage has lasted, but they've separated 4 times over the years, and the years I lived with them were especially toxic. He wanted me to call her Mom. He tried to get a step-parent adoption pushed through without involving me. He'd get mad at me for holding on to my mom's memory and said I was suffocating him with her, that I was chasing off his wife by refusing to let go. His wife did everything she could to try to take over for my mom. It took me until my 20s to realize it wasn't just about being my mom, but also, and perhaps mostly, about her fear that my dad still loved my mom and wasn't over her. A fight between the two of them helped me see that. I never called his wife Mom. I never loved her or saw her as anything other than a burden in my life who wanted to take my mom away from me again. I see my dad in a similar way, and it's worse now that I've lost my wife. The mere thought of telling my kids, "Here's your new mom, forget the old one," sickens me. The thought of dishonoring my wife by replacing her, and I don't mean remarrying, sickens me. She will always be my wife and my love. She will always be a part of us, no matter what happens. It wasn't the same with my dad. He tried to wash away every trace of her, minus me, and he tried to wash her away from me too, so I'd be easier for them both to be around. And 10 hours after my wife died, my dad first brought up the topic. He told me he knew how I felt, and maybe now I'd realize why he made the decisions he did, and would cut him some slack and be happy he didn't wallow in misery. He said we could talk it out man to man and laugh about the childish reactions I had to everything he did. Again, this was 10 hours later, and I didn't want to hear it. I kicked him out and didn't answer calls or texts from him for weeks. When I did, he brought back up the same crap about me, understanding, and I told him I did not, and didn't want to talk to him about it or hear from him. He didn't take that well, but he didn't show up again and chose to text repeatedly. Now he started calling and is angry that the understanding hasn't come. He tried to bring up how, as men, we have sexual needs, and I told him to leave me alone because I can't talk to him. He said losing my wife should have made me more compassionate, understanding, and ready to let the past go, to understand and forgive him and his wife. I ended the call before he could spew more and blocked his number. I don't know if I'll keep it that way forever, but for now, yes. Am I the a-hole for pushing him away now? I'll mention that we didn't speak or see each other very often over the last decade. He has met my kids, but he wasn't much of a presence, and his wife never met them. You know you aren't the a-hole. Keep him away from yourself and your family. I'm keeping this short because I can't believe he did this to you. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. I'm still trying to figure out if this surprised me or not. I can't say it really did, but maybe some part of me hoped he would have grown the heck up by now. The man that calls himself your father actually sounds happy your wife died, so he can feel like less of an a-hole for his behavior when you lost your mom. You lost your wife and he expects you to have compassion? Wants you to think about your sexual needs a whole 10 hours after her death? I don't even know why you're still allowing him in your life, but I hope you keep him far away from your children, so he won't start telling them that they need to move on and accept their dad is getting them a new mom. Send him these responses and then block him. I'm very sorry for your loss, not the a-hole. It feels that way too. I'm trying not to be harsh, but it did feel a little like he was glad I became a widower younger than him, by 3 years, because in his brain, I think it meant I would agree with him and follow in his footsteps to provide him with the approval he's seeking. Right now, he's not really in my life and won't be in my kids' lives either. This may be a permanent thing, because I want so much better for them. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be involved in my sister's wedding traditions after how my family treated mine? My sister, 28 female, recently got engaged, and I'm genuinely happy for her. Even though we've grown apart and rarely see eye to eye, I still went to her engagement celebration because I knew how much it meant to her to have family support. However, I, 27 male, have been engaged for almost 2 years now, and my family, especially my dad, has completely refused to support me. In our tradition, after the proposal, the groom's family is expected to formally meet with the bride's family for an introduction that officially declares the intention of joining the two families. After my proposal, I was eager to organize this introduction, letting my fiancé's family prepare to host my family, but my dad flat out refused to attend. He said he did not want to be involved. My mother refused to challenge him on his decision, and neither my sister nor my brother, 23 male, reached out or tried to advocate for me. I had already planned a date with my fiancé's family, so it was entirely disrespectful to her and her family, and humiliating and hurtful for me to have my parents shut us down like that. I believe that because my dad has disapproved of our relationship from the beginning, he thought that, without his involvement, the marriage would not happen. My fiancé and I decided we weren't going to let their rejection stop us from moving forward, and we've been making wedding plans without them. We wanted to honor our tradition, but not at the cost of our happiness. With my sister now engaged, my dad has been over the moon and called me asking when I'd be available to attend her wedding introduction. I was immediately floored by the audacity. I listened to him talk about the importance of the event, and after he finished, I had to shut him down, reminding him that when I asked for the same support, he dismissed me completely. After this conversation, he texted me saying that now he wants to meet my fiancé's family. Honestly, I find it insulting and convenient that he's only changing his tune now. He expects me to happily play along when I've already moved on? I don't want him involved in my relationship, and I don't want to be heavily involved in my sister's wedding engagements either. This is because my relationship with my sister is already severely damaged. Before I left home, while I was still dating my fiancé, I would constantly be demeaned and harassed by my parents for choosing to be with her. During this time, my sister never supported my decision or defended me. Instead, she sided with them and hurled insults at me, my fiancé and her family, to the point that I felt so isolated and depressed. I eventually moved out and went through therapy, but I'm still traumatized from the whole experience. I would consider my sister to be an enabler who repeats whatever my parents say without any critical thinking, so I've learned not to trust her to have my best interests at heart. Now my mom is calling me, saying my dad finally coming around is what she's been praying for. But to me, it feels like she never actually pushed my dad to change until it suited his agenda. My family cares a lot about appearances, and I can't shake the feeling that my dad only wants me involved now to maintain the image of a perfect family. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to be involved in my sister's wedding preparations and not letting my dad suddenly insert himself into my relationship after years of rejection? Is this a caste thing? Anyway, obviously not the a-hole. Stand your ground. Your father's request to meet your fiancé now after being disrespectful to her and her family is humiliating and hurtful. Stand your ground. Stay separate from their nonsense and keep protecting your own relationship and mental health.